Today we are joined by Tom Ray from StormTRacker to discuss the Chicago Wolves.
Welcome to the Griffins Pipeline Podcast.
Welcome back to the Griffins Pipeline Podcast. We are a podcast brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network, and we are sponsored by DraftKings. I am one of your hosts, Connor.
And I am the other host, Kyle. We're a podcast by fans for fans. We are not officially partnered with the Grand Rapids Griffins or Detroit Red Wings. We bring you the show as season ticket member, fan perspective on Grand Rapids hockey. And today we're joined by Tom Ray from StormTRacker to discuss the Chicago Wolves and their affiliation with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, and this is a really good one because they're playing this weekend, the Wolves and the Griffins, for a big matchup. A home game Friday night for the Griffins, and then they travel to Chicago for a home-and-home matchup. So that'll be cool. So you can listen here and get caught up and see what's going on. So Chicago's kind of given the Griffins a hard time this year, and they are in second place in the division. So without further ado, let's get to Tom Ray.
Right after DraftKings. The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey, hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into 200 bonus bucks if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved.
Today on the show, we have a very special guest. We have Tom Ray from StormTRacker, Carolina Hurricanes podcast, and he's gonna come talk to us about the Chicago Wolves.
Well, hey guys, great to be here. It's always great to talk hockey, and of course, with the Griffins playing so well this year, fun to be on with you guys for sure.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Tom. It's great to have you on. We want to kind of talk about you to get things started. We'll, what do you do? Talk about your show, StormTRacker. I noticed it's capitalized TR. I'm guessing standing for Tom Ray right in the middle.
There you go.
I thought that was pretty cool. So tell us about it.
Well, yeah, it's kind of fun. So, I've been a Carolina Hurricanes fan for years, back in the Hartford Whaler days. And, it's been kind of interesting. Peter Carmanos, you might remember, bought them, purchased the club from Hartford. He paid like $47 million. So that's a funny story because today, if you look at the valuation of the Canes, it's up around $2 billion. So Tom Dundon obviously bought them from Carmanos, but isn't that quite a story? Anyway, that was back in the 90s that they moved over. I think it was 97, 98 season. And kind of fun, not a great team. It took a while to get something going. And then in the early 2000s, the Canes started to play better. And you remember they won the Cup actually in 2006. So it was great. Loved the Canes. And then there was a huge drought. So you had to be a serious fan to kind of hang on, as you can think. And like the Wings for a while, we just didn't win much. And no playoffs.
Yeah, actually, when the Wings were doing so terrible, I actually needed that team to watch that was good, so I was watching the Hurricanes for a long time there, and I'm a huge fan. I got to watch Alex Nedeljkovic come to Grand Rapids and actually play for the Griffins too, so that's really cool. seeing
we
one of my
love
favorite
Ned.
games come down. And
Well, we love Ned. So I mean, I was there with the Canes through some of the tough years, and of course, then Brenda Moore came in and all the changes that Dundon made, and it was great, and it's been fun since. But back in 2011, I kind of got started on doing some journalism work, and I was actually a fan contributor to the hockey site Hockey Buzz. And Hockey Buzz, you might have seen them around for a long time. They usually get involved in the rumors stuff and some other fun stuff. But I did that for a while, and then I just, I kind of lost the interest again. I had too much going on in life, you know how that goes. And so I kind of left it. And then the opportunity a couple of years ago in 23 kind of popped up where I said, you know what, I'm going to just try a YouTube channel, see how it's going to go. And boy, with the work that goes with that and getting started and trying to figure everything out and, learning the ropes. And,
so much fun.
What can you say and what can you do? And it just took a while. And then in 24, the summer of 24, I made the decision to bring on collaborators. And I think that was really, the tipping point for StormTRacker. And you might have seen some of our folks. We have Nick Bass, who handles the Canes prospects, and some of those are with the Wolves, of course. We have Andrew Rinaldi, who handles the Wolves for us, and he has been writing Wolves stuff for a long time, and he's great. And then he's
a big Griffins contributor too, actually.
He is. He has been. Yes. Yeah. So Andrew well.
So we've actually seen a lot of his good work around here, and we actually tried getting a hold of him, but we never got a hold of him.
Well, he's a great guy, and we've spent a lot of time together, so really enjoy his work. Nice. And then our hockey savants, you've probably seen them, Aaron and Katie, who are on regular for us. And they're fantastic. So it's been great, and we've had a lot of fun, and we've had some other guests on, and it's been really cool. And for me, it's like you guys, you just want to talk hockey and enjoy the sport and kind of raise the profile if you can, and that's what we do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I just love talking to other people because everybody sees the game at a different aspect, and it's just really cool to see like the difference between hockey, here in Michigan compared to down there in Carolina or in Chicago or, even like Anaheim or something crazy like that. It's every place has its own culture.
Yeah.
In the Carolinas, of course, you have the tailgating and all the kind of fun stuff. We go to the games. It's usually quite an event for us. We try to get up 3 or 4 times a year. I'm in Atlanta now. And, I should have mentioned in starting off talking about my hockey spin is that I am Canadian, so it's in my DNA. So I've always been in hockey. I played for many, many years as a youth and into my 20s, 30s, and 40s. So, it's a great sport and always lots of fun, as I say, to talk about it. Do you want to talk about the Wolves a little bit?
Yeah, let's dive right into the Wolves. Let's hear about the season, how the season's been going, and then maybe talk about their affiliation with the Carolina Hurricanes, because there's a lot of questions there.
Well, this is an interesting story in some ways, guys. The Hurricanes had a great relationship with the Charlotte Checkers and actually won the Calder Cup when the Checkers were the AHL farm team for them back in like 2018, 19, whatever. So what happened was the decision was made to kind of move away from the Checkers. I don't know. It was kind of a mutual decision, which was kind of tough because Charlotte was close to Raleigh. I used to enjoy the fact that we could drive up through Charlotte, catch a Charlotte game, and then go up and catch a couple of Canes games. So it was always a great weekend for us of hockey, and that was kind of
special about that affiliation. That's close.
Yeah, it was a great affiliation. It just broke down, and so what happened was the Canes decided that they'd kind of tie up with Chicago, and they had relationships with the Wolves and with some different folks there. So that was good. And ultimately, in 22, you might recall, they won the Calder Cup. So that was a great year for them.
Yeah.
A number of key folks from the Canes helping out. They had Stefan Nason was there. You might remember he had a huge year. He had 48 goals, and that kind of that kind of jettisoned his career to move into the NHL. It was great for him. And then you had Jack Drury, you had Jalen Chatfield, you had Alex Lyon, you had a bunch of guys that you'd know. And that was a great team, and that was fantastic. And then the following season did not go well. Okay, so, those players moved on. Some of them were free agents. Some of the prospects moved on, like Jack Drury and others. And all of a sudden, the Wolves were not a great team. And so what happened was the owner of the Wolves, Don Levin, was not a happy camper. And the other thing he was concerned about was that the Canes were pulling some of their key players, calling them up, and weren't delivering top prospects. So it was kind of a bad situation all around. So you remember that the Wolves decided they were going to go do their own thing. And it left the Canes in a lurch.
Independent thing, yeah.
The Canes had no AHL team. It's insane. Mm-hmm. So there they were, and I watched this, and I kind of thought, this is nuts, right? And so what happened was, and this story too, is that the Wolves just had a terrible season. And about halfway through the year,
not good.
Yeah, it was awful. And halfway through the year, they were looking for some help, and the Canes sent a couple of D-men. They sent Ronan Seeley, and Dom Fensori also came up. So they kind of helped them out a little bit. And those guys really were AHLers. They shouldn't have been playing in the ECHL. It was kind of weird, as you know. So anyway, long story short, they helped them out. And then at the end of that season, Levin kind of relented and thought, gee, I better get an agreement somewhere. And the Canes went back to him and said, let's tie up this agreement again. And they ultimately, the way it worked out is a little bit different this time, because the Canes have complete control of hockey operations. So they make all the hockey decisions for the Wolves, which is kind of interesting. In fact, Darren York, he's a VP with the Canes, is the GM for the Wolves. So it's kind of been interesting. But the Canes made a decision this year to roll a lot of their top prospects down there. Okay, so they brought folks from, all over the place. And they did this last year. You remember they brought Gleb Trikazov and Ruslan Kazayev over from Russia as youngsters. They were like 19 years old each. So they brought some folks over. They wanted to bring prospects over and load the team up. And this year, of course, they've done that. So that's a little bit of the history, and brings us up to date to where we are today. And it's kind of interesting because when you look at where their playing is today, one of the interesting things that happened in about mid-December, you might recall, was that the Canes changed coaches of the Wolves, right? So Cam Abbott was relieved of his duties.
They got intern.
And Spiros Anastas took over as the head coach of the Wolves, interim. So kind of interesting. Spiros, really popular guy. He's great. And since he took over, they're 8-2-2-1. So, things are going well with Spiros for sure. So a lot of things happening with them now. They've been, they've been doing well this year. This is a better year to this point than it was last year. At this point last year, they had about 40 points. They were sitting in fourth in the Central. This year, they've got 48 points and they're in second. So, things are better, right? And
looking up.
The last 6 games have been interesting too. They've been scoring a lot of goals. You might have noticed this. They're scoring a ton. Yeah,
sure.
31 goals in their last 6 games. 31. And but 27 against, so that's not so good.
So just high scoring games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at the roster, you kind of understand why. But yeah, so I think it's going well. I think I've listened to some of the things that Spiros Anastas has been saying lately, and he feels like the team is coming along nicely. They've got some players that are top prospects, and some folks that you expect would get call ups, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, they're in the mix.
Nice.
Yeah, Chicago Wolves, and they really they were the first team to beat the Griffins. This one was in a shootout a little bit earlier in the season there, but it was a early marker that Chicago was not a team to mess around with this year, and they've come together. And then the head coaching change really put a fire under them, I noticed, and it looks like things are working out well. And like you said, maybe high scoring now, but maybe this is just the change of the, things getting mixed up, new styles of play and all that kind of coming together. So, and then defense might back a little bit.
Well, the other thing too, I think, is that, the decor, we talked a little bit about the player activity that's going on with the team as well. The decor has been kind of in flux for a while, right? So you had, you had injuries, you had folks on recall. I mean, early in the year, of course, Charles Alexis Legault, who was expected to be a key player for the Wolves, went down with injury. He had been up with the Canes. Yoel Nystrom, of course, was expected to be with the Canes, and he's been to be with the Wolves, and he's been up with the Canes most of the season. Dom Fensori, he's been in and out with injury. I mean, there's been a lot of different situations on the Blue, so much so that the Canes have gone out to try to bolster it. So you recall they had a early December signing Cal Foote, a little bit of controversial signing, but seems like he's settled in quite nicely with the Wolves. And of course, most recently, they acquired Juuso Välimäki from Utah, and he's just coming back from a torn ACL injury, but looks like he's playing quite well. So yeah. So I think, I think if you look at the defense shoring up, I was kind of looking at this and having some fun with it. And I said, boy, what's this defense going to look like when everybody's back? And you can expect that to happen before the season's over. Where you've got, you've got Välimäki, you've got Gavin Bayreuther, you've got Fensori, you've got Legault, you've got Nystrom, you've got Bedinka, you've got Himasalmi, you got Seeley. I mean, you're loaded, right? I mean, this defense is going to be loaded. And it's kind of like the Griffins, right? The Griffins have an incredible defense. So, yeah.
There's actually too much of a log jam over here in Grand Rapids where some of these guys are probably going to start being like, I want my time. We've been down here tearing it up in the AHL unrealistically. And at some point, someone's got to move up. And at some point, someone's going to want to be in the NHL, and not everyone can do it at the same time. So sometime you got to move on or move out.
Well, and I mean, they're going to have the same problem with the Wolves. I mean, they're going to have probably 7 or 8 defensemen that can all play. So they're going to have to make some decisions on who gets the playing time. And I know that, kind of like the Hurricanes this year where they had lots of injuries on the Blue. Other folks have been getting extra playing time. I mean, you look at some of these guys on the Wolves, like Alexi Himasalmi, Bedinka, some of the other guys. They weren't expected to get a lot of playing time early in the season because, they were kind of lower in the depth chart. But as the season's gone on, they've had to jump in. So that's good. And I know that Spiros Anastas was talking about Bedinka the other day and basically saying this guy is, he's still a young man and he's coming along quite nicely for them. So I think he's just turning 20. So he's a guy that, top prospect for the Canes, high draft pick for them, second rounder, and he's a guy that looks like he's got a future as well. So now, one other thing I'll mention, guys, just talking about injured players, a couple of guys that could really make a difference heading into the, latter part of the season and into the playoffs are Juha Jaska and Giovanni Smith. Now, both of those guys have been out for extended periods. And, Jaska, boy, when he was with the Wolves last year, he was patrolling the wing on the top line with Suzuki and Nadeau. And they were tremendous, right? So, he's a guy that can produce, and he's a guy that's going to help them. Giovanni Smith, he brings that sandpaper. He's a bit of he's an aggressive player.
We're familiar with Giovanni Smith.
Yeah, Giovanni, yes, of course.
I actually have his glove hanging up in my... Yeah, he threw a glove to me, one of his gloves right to me at one game. It was like the fan appreciation game. He threw it right up. I grabbed it. I'm like, thanks, Giovanni. It's pretty cool. He's a, and then he'd beat the snot out of dudes every night.
Yeah, he's the sandpaper for sure.
I love
he sure is. Yeah, well, he had a great camp with the Canes. He really did. And he earned a contract, which was great. But he's been out for an extended period, and that's kind of too bad because I was hoping he'd get up with the Canes and shake things up a little bit as well. So he may still do that.
Puts on a show. He really does.
Yeah. So some good players, will be coming back and to bolster the Wolves. And again, you have to like that. The one area of concern for me as I look at, the second half of the season is going to be goaltending. They've got Amir Miftakov, who came over from Russia. He's actually a good buddy of Andrei Svechnikov, so that's an interesting side story. Miftakov, he did not have a good camp with the Canes. He played, I think, 2 or 3 exhibition games and really got beat up in those, so it wasn't a great start for him. He did come down and play some pretty good hockey with the Wolves, but lately not so strong. Caden Primo, who they had earmarked for the Wolves this year, of course, then was picked up on waivers by Toronto and then, of course, came back on waivers. So lots of fun there.
We need you.
He's the guy they're going to lean on, I think, for the most part. He's playing well. He's got I think a .913 save percentage, 2.55 goals against. So he's doing fine. They're both similar wins, losses, but I think Primo is the guy that they're going to probably roll with as the season goes on. So that'll be the one area we'll be watching. As I said, they've been giving up a lot of goals, so we'll have to see if these goals.
They're both older guys, correct?
Yeah, they're veterans. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Miftakov had been over in North America. He played with Syracuse, I think, 3-4 years ago in the Tampa chain. Then went back to Russia and played there for the last period of time. And of course, Primo's been around for a while. And Primo has always kind of been outstanding in the American Hockey League. That's if you look at his numbers, they're really top drawer. But it's kind of getting to the next level that he's just not there yet. Yeah.
So speaking of veterans, who are like the captains on your team? I mean, in the AHL, you kind of, for more of a Calder Cup success, you have to have those veterans because they got to be there to mentor the younger guys. You get your star talent, but the veterans are really the dudes who stay there all year and hold the team together. So who are the captains of the Chicago Wolves?
Well, I mean, the guys that you're going to be looking at, of course, Ryan Suzuki, he's one of the guys that, he's been here for a while, former first rounder. He's a guy that, he really thought he was going to be with the Canes at some point and has just not quite been able to put it all together, but he's doing very well at the AHL level. So he's one of your veterans. I mean, it's a young team. I mean, if you go up and down the team, there's not a lot of senior players. I mean, some of these defensemen we're talking about, Gavin Bayreuther, of course, is one of them. Now Juuso Välimäki's another one. But boy, for the most part, these are young people. I mean, you can go up and down the lineup and they're kids.
Yeah. I noticed Justin Robidas was kind of one of your higher guys up there on the scoreboard.
Oh, I want to talk about yeah. Okay. You got to talk about Justin Robidas. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't tell you a story that's, to me, I said yesterday on X, it's a kind of a run of the ages right now for Justin Robidas. His last 18 games, he's got 16 goals and 11 assists.
Jeez.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like that. In his last 6 games, he's got 7 goals and 7 assists. I mean, this guy is just, it's foolish how well he's playing. He's an all-star. He's a guy that, I listened to an interesting piece that Spiros Anastas was saying about Robidas. I've always loved Robidas. I mean, even, his call-ups to the Canes, he's always looked great, and he's good in the face-off dot. He'll kill penalties. He'll go on the power play. He's a guy you got to love. And the only thing that's held him back, of course, has been size. He checks in at 5'8", 180 pounds. He's strong, but, he's a shorter guy. So, in a league that's going to big people, they're usually passed over, right? So, but Robidas, Spiros Anastas was saying about Robidas, interesting that, last year was his first full year in the pros. He had played the previous year in the ECHL, okay, but first year in the American Hockey League, and he scored 20 goals and 30 assists. And Spiros said, they talked about what they wanted to improve in the offseason, and he said, this guy's a really smart player, and he's just a student of the game, and he goes back and he gets stronger and he gets quicker and he does all the things you want a player to do. And he comes back and he's, he just looks the part now. I mean, and he's moved to the wing, which is interesting. They made that decision. Anastas was saying he can still play center, no problem. He's a great center. But boy, when you put him on the wing with Nadeau and Suzuki, look out. So
fireworks.
Yeah.
So another guy I kind of want to ask a question about. Skylar Brindamore, is he related to Rod Brindamore?
Yeah, I love Skylar Brindamore. If people who watch my podcast will kind of laugh because I'm one of the guys that really loves Skylar. Skylar, he's Rod's son, and he's had a cup of coffee with the Canes. He played some games last year. You remember he scored a goal.
I remember.
He's an interesting guy that. So he played at Quinnipiac, right? And he was there when they won the championship, the NCAA championship. And he's a guy that, if you look at him, he's a younger Jordan Stahl. Okay, so he's a big guy who plays defensively well, is great in the faceoff dot, tremendous penalty killer. He's just like Jordan, like it's incredible, right? So he's now adding a bit of offense to his game. And that's the thing that he needed, was to be able to score some goals. And he's got 11 goals this year, so he's well ahead of last year's pace. He scored 16 last year. He's a guy that I think could possibly get a call-up because he brings he's not going to hurt you at all. He's a guy that's defensively responsible. He's out there making things happen. He's making much better plays with the puck offensively. I like him. I think he's later. Sure, he's older in terms of the prospect game, but boy, he's a guy that could add something to a lot of teams. And I'm delighted because it's interesting because he and Josiah Slavin are like Martin, Duke, and Stahl. Okay, so it doesn't matter who you put out there with them. They're a mirror of those guys with the Canes, and I always laugh because it's just about the same deal, right? And of course, Josiah Slavin, who's the captain of the team, he's a great leader. He's a great leader, and of course, he's Jacob's brother, as you say, and he's a great leader. So, I mean, these are quality people, right? So, I love Brindamore. I really like Slavin as well, Josiah Slavin. Now, I didn't mention the show. I have to mention the show. Yeah,
cool story,
guys. I've got to mention the show because if we don't talk about him, we're missing the boat, right? So that's Bradley Nadeau. If you look back at a lot of the podcasts I've done with Nick Bass, we do the top 5 prospects of the month every month, and this is in the Canes world, so they could be anywhere, right? And I got to tell you that Bradley Nadeau was one of our guys many, many, many times. Okay, and still is. He's a tremendous player. And I know you see him, and boy, when he gets on the ice, you're a little bit concerned if you're the opposing team for sure. He's something else, and he's been on a tear too. So he spent some time with the Canes. He was up this year for 8 games. He scored a couple of goals. But boy, oh boy, he's on fire right now. So in his last 5 games, he's got 6 goals and 6 assists.
That's awesome. Chicago Wolves are on fire.
Yeah. He was player of the week in the AHL in December and the week of the 7th. He's an all-star. He's really everything. This guy, I just love watching him. And the big thing for Bradley, of course, was to round out his game. Offensively, he's there. I mean, he's amazing. And I remember watching him with Maine when he was playing NCAA stuff, and he was incredible. And he just has carried that over. But he's now filling out his game, and that's a big thing. You hear, some of the coaches talking about that as well. He's much more defensively responsible. He plays a heavier game now. He likes to go in and hit people. That's kind of fun. So he's a guy. I'll tell you the situation with Nadeau. He's in a tough situation with the Canes. The Canes on their forward side are very strong on the wings. Okay, and they're smaller. They're smallish right now. So he's more of the same. He's not a third or fourth line guy. He's got to be in your top six. There's just no way, right? He's a guy that's got to be playing with people that can put the puck in the net and make things happen. So,
Right.
So the concern with Nadeau is that if there's a deal that kind of comes up where they need to put in a top prospect, teams are going to be asking for him for sure. I mean, they're going to want him. And the question is, are the Canes, depending on who it is, willing to include a guy like Bradley Nadeau? I hope not, but these are the kind of players that teams want. I mean, the same thing now with Justin Robidas. These are guys that teams want desperately. And talking about Robidas, Spiros Anastas basically said he's ready to play in the NHL. He's good to go. So, yeah, so lots of good guys. You have Felix Unger-Sorms, another one that I like. He came to camp a couple of years ago and had a huge camp with the Canes. Everybody thought he was going to be a Cane, and then ultimately went back to Europe and of course then came back last year over to Chicago. Had a tough year last year, and it was interesting because he was playing center. They wanted to move him to center ice. He had been playing right wing mostly, and it didn't go well. This year, back on the wing, he's playing well. And he's another prospect that I think, he's very young still. He's another prospect that I think is very much in the mix for the Hurricanes. So, some great young talent for sure. And, when you watch these games or you see them from your side, you can see some of these players and just how exciting they are. And as a Canes man that loves these guys and looks forward to seeing them with the Canes, it's going to be great. So anyway, that's a little bit on some of the key players on Chicago for sure.
So if you were to say,
sorry, go ahead.
So if you were to take a guess who the most likely to go up to the Hurricanes right now would be, who are the top couple you would put in that category?
Well, you got to talk Nadeau and Robidas. I mean, those two guys.
Okay. Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. Skylar Brindamore is probably not far behind because he's a different player, right? He fills a different need. Fourth line centerman, can go in and do some of that heavy lifting depending on injuries and so on. So he's another one that I think is definitely in the mix. And on the blue, when Charles Alexis Legault comes back, he's going to be in the mix. And, Valimaki as a veteran will be in the mix as well. So those are the guys that I think you're going to see probably get a cup of coffee with the Canes. In past years, Rod Brindamore has gotten into this thing where the last week or two, he decides to rest everybody for the playoffs. You remember, I don't know if you remember seeing that, but he did. And he bring up all these guys. They bring all these players up from the farm team. So I think we'll see a bunch of those guys up for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Kyle have talked to pretty much everyone in our division so far in the Central Division of the AHL. And it's all had a common theme. The trade deadline destroys the AHL team.
Yeah. Yes.
Everyone's kind of said the same thing about that.
It can either greatly improve them or just decimate the team and struggling to put things together for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you go back to the challenges they had with the ownership of the Wolves back in the day, saying, your players are getting call-ups or being traded or whatever. That is the life of an AHL franchise, right? You're there to deliver players. Yeah, you're there to deliver players to the big club or to be part of a trade or whatever the case may be. That's really your mission. And if you can somehow wade through that and, continue to keep those guys as much as possible or fill in with other guys, you're in pretty good shape. And I think that's one of the things that I found interesting with the Wolves this year is they brought some players in that they basically signed as well. And, one of the guys, I don't know if you've seen him much, is this Evan Veerling. He's been pretty good this year for them. And he's a guy that, he's putting in goals. He's out there making things happen and not a household name, but again, doing some good work. And they got this guy, Blake Biondi, who I thought was great at the Prospect Showcase this year. And he was Minnesota Mr. Hockey. This is incredible in 2020. And that's the most outstanding senior high school player in Minnesota. So, there's some pretty interesting company for that. So they've got some interesting guys that they're trying to fill in because they know just what you said a minute ago. They're going to lose some of these players. They're either going to be called up, they're going to be traded, whatever. So the roster, when you look at the roster, the projected lineup for the game, which I look at every time with, of course, the Wolves games, it'll look a little bit different as we get towards the end of the season. And some of these players will be gone, frankly. Yeah. And that's,
and you always got to fall down onto the ECHL teams to support you, and the players coming from Europe and the college kids. It's that time of the year where you really get to see what you're looking at next year.
Yeah, all those guys from overseas also.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? The Hurricanes have their ECHL team, the Greensboro Gargoyles now, which is great. So they've got some players in Greensboro that you're right. That they're calling them up from time to time. There's guys like Doyle and some other guys that they've called up, and they will do that, of course. And you're right. They'll be adding other prospects and players. I mean, this is what they'll do in the deals. Yeah. So they'll pick up some, like they did with Valimaki. They'll pick them up. They can send them down. They can, they can shore up the group down here. But I mean, I'm expecting the Wolves to stay quite nicely in second place in the Central to finish the season. I think they're gonna hold that very, very nicely. And I think they got a real shot at coming up second in the Western Conference. I'm very bullish on the second half here for the Wolves.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so for the Griffins, we kind of been talking about this, me and Kyle. We've been hot right now, but all it takes is to have that trade deadline mess us up, and all of a sudden we slump down, and then we're not ready for the playoffs. So I'm hoping the Griffins can struggle through it and stay strong, because a lot of times teams that start hot and not so hot.
Well, you've got some pieces that I think, your goaltender is sensational. I mean, let's be honest, he's an incredible goaltender, Kosa. You've got all those defensemen we talked about before. You've got all the veterans back there. I mean, you've got Hall, you've got Gustafsson, you've got Lagesson, Mitchell. I mean, they're not going anywhere.
It's insane.
And I don't expect the prospects on the blue will go. So your blue line is solid. And you got some veterans up front again as well. You got John Leonard, and you got all these guys. So you're going to be in good shape.
And then our goalie, our second goalie, Michael Pastava, has just had 2 shutouts in a row too. So
yeah, what a move that was by Eiserman to bring him over. That was appreciated over here.
Well, the Wings, continue to draft well. And for sure, they love to send them into Grand Rapids, and you guys get the first look at them. And like I said, there's so many players that have gone up to the Wings, and I think right now there's 8 or 9 players with the Wings that are, you can just think of some of those guys right now. I mean, Marco Kasper, he was great, and Edvinsson. I'd go up and down the list. So there's some great former Griffins, and you'll continue to do that. And I think that's one of the things that the Wings have in common with Carolina. They both have great scouting groups, and they really know how to develop their players. So, making solid draft picks, making sure they, go through and pay their dues, and they're not rushing players into the big leagues. It's, it's not one of those situations where, you got a youngster and you got to get them in there as quick as possible. Not so much that. I think about, one of the big prospects with the Canes right now, of course, is rookie Alex Nikishin. He's 24 years old. So, I mean, you're bringing someone in that's played extensively. I mean, even Yoel Nystrom is 23 years old. So, I mean, they're letting these folks percolate in Europe to some extent, and then bringing them over, and where possible, putting them into the AHL team, and very similar to what the Grand Rapids Griffins have done. So impressive. And I think it's sustaining. That's probably the biggest thing, guys. It's going to be sustaining. This is not going to be, hey, one and done. You're going to have some fun for a long time.
It looks like it's the same way around over there in Chicago. So
I think so. I mean, we have a lot of prospects coming. Yeah, and there's a lot of prospects coming, right? I mean, it's like one thing that I don't know if when you follow the Canes draft philosophy, they basically try to load up with as many draft picks as possible. So often they'll trade down, right? So they'll trade a first round pick to get a second and a fourth. You see that, right? And you're going, oh, okay.
I remember when I was really into the Canes a couple of years ago, I was like, what are you guys doing? I didn't understand it right away.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And, well, the other thing they've done, and they've done this extensively, is that they've really gone the Russian route. So the Canes drafted a lot of Russians. In fact, over a 3 or 4 year period, almost half of their draft picks were Russians. And the interesting thing was, of course, is that those Russian players, they fell way down in the draft because folks were not so excited about drafting Russians for a variety of reasons, right? And so they would pick up these players in the second, third, fourth round that were really, projected to be first rounders or early second rounders. And so, it's worked out very, very well. And so they've got lots of players. They're losing some players now just because there isn't an opportunity, and those players are re-signing or staying in Europe. And that's the unfortunate part about this. You can only handle so many prospects at any one time. And, and even an interesting thing with the Wolves, Ivan Ryabkin was an interesting rookie with the Wolves. And here's a good example. He's a Russian coming over at 19 years old. He was drafted this year and, wasn't expected to get signed. He gets signed. He gets sent to Chicago. And, a little bit early for him. He had played in the USHL last year with Muskegon, so he had come to North America, which was great. But now he's down in the Quebec Major Junior League with Charlottetown and played his first 3 games. And he had 8 points or something. So he's terrorizing that league.
Crazy.
But again, a great prospect. They have options with these players. They can put them in different places and bring them along slowly as needed. He'll be back with the Wolves, if not later this year, certainly next year for sure. So you'll see a lot of Ryabkin. He's a heck of a prospect. But yeah.
Awesome. Gotcha. I got one last question for you. How do you think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to finish out the season?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. Lately they've been playing tremendous. They beat up on Florida 9-1, the Panthers the other day, and came right back and won 4-1 after that. They're playing great hockey. And, they've got Jacob Slavin back, and it's no surprise that, they're playing a lot better because he's one of the best defensemen in the game. So it's been great. They're going to compete. Okay. I think they're going to come out of the East. I think they're going to be good enough. And I believe strongly that Eric Tulsky is going to make another move. I believe he's going to bring in some more talent. He's got lots in the cupboard. He's got tons of cap room. He's got prospects. He's got everything he needs to get it done. So I think they're going to strengthen up a little bit more. But boy, I think now the goaltending is solved. You've seen the magic of Brandon Bussey, the bus man, as they call him. I don't know if you've seen the numbers. They're ridiculous. He's won, I think, 16 of 19 games. Crazy thing. So he's a guy that is incredible, and he's doing extremely well. And I think the other thing is, again, it's going to be tough. You've got Tampa's right there. I mean, obviously, Detroit's going to be there. There's several teams that are going to be pushing hard. We don't know where the Panthers are going to be in all of this. They've been our nemesis the last couple of years, but I think the Canes are going to be right there. Yeah, I think they're going to be there. And now, when you start looking at the West in Colorado, that's a handful.
That's another monster.
Yeah, they've been quite a story. Of course, they've got some ex-Canes that are really lighting it up out there with, of course, Marty Necas, Jack Drury's out there, and of course Brent Burns, who's played very, very well for them this year. So a lot of us on the Canes are, we're kind of following the Avalanche closely and with a lot of interest. But they're the team this year for sure. There's no question. They are the class.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
Yeah. So first things first, we need to, as a Cane follower, we need to get out of the East, and then we'll and we'll try to tackle whoever it is in the West. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And the hockey has been sensational. And, guys, the other thing I just want to mention is that looking forward to the Olympics, I think the hockey is going to be off the charts. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, and you've got some players from the Wings, of course. We've got some Canes over there. So, we'll be following all of that very, very closely. And it's just a great time to be a hockey fan.
Are you root for Canada then?
Actually, I wouldn't say I'm rooting for Canada. I mean, I'm always happy to see Canada win because, clearly, it's big for the country. It's huge. But on the other hand, I just like great hockey, and I'm kind of at the point now where, I have players on different teams that I really follow closely. And so I just want to see it great. And I haven't really sat down and said, I've got this team or that team. And, some people think I should be cheering for Finland because Sebastian Aho is over there, but
hey, that's kind of how I roll. Whoever's got the most players that I like on their team, that's who I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And you know what? This is all about just great hockey, the best in the world playing together and competing, and the emotions will be high, and it's you're playing for your country. It's a beautiful thing, and I can't wait to watch those games. I think it's very exciting.
Us as well.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all the questions we have. But is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Anything crazy or any big
last minute Wolves news or
anything?
No, there's not any kind of last minute Wolves news. I think, just I guess from my side, I think it's great you guys are doing this because, some of the leagues don't get as much attention, like the AHL in particular. And I know when I've talked a lot to Andrew Rinaldi about the AHL, and I really think it's great. And it's a great league and should get a lot more attention. And I think it's great you guys do this. How did you get started doing this?
So I've always been a big Red Wings and big Griffins fan, and
being brothers, it follows. So
yeah. So I used to listen to Red Wings podcasts, and we were just sitting there one day. We're like, "There's no Grand Rapids Griffins podcasts," so we're like, "Let's make one." We kind of went on, didn't think about it, and then there was this Red Wings podcast. They're like, "Does someone want to start a Griffins podcast?" So I commented, and I was like, "I'll do it." So we started doing it with them for a year, and we kind of went our separate ways, started our own thing, and then we got signed onto the Hockey Podcast Network, and they're the ones who really make it possible for us. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. Now we're interviewing a bunch of fun people and talking to a bunch of hockey. It's been a blast.
Talking hockey with all sorts of people we never really thought we'd talk hockey with, and it's been just looking around, like you said, the AHL, we just thought we needed to bring it more to the table because it is such a good league. There's such NHL high caliber players down here just playing. There's such high prospects, and it's honestly in most places it's a cheaper experience for you to go down, fans to see these players live. It's just more accessible for some people, and it brings it to cities that don't normally get that high grade talent. So,
and that too. The prices of going into the AHL games is a lot cheaper, and you get to experience a lot more up close things with the players and whatnot, which is really cool. And you get the first peek at the players that come down, so you get to see them before everyone else does, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I used to enjoy when I went to the games in Charlotte. I think they were $25 a seat or something. It was ridiculous, right? Yeah. And you'd be sitting in a great seat, like it was fantastic. And I always loved that. And you're right. You're up close and personal, and you could meet people and do all kinds of cool stuff. And you saw the players, as you say, you saw those players, before they came to the big team, and you could sit back and tell people, "Hey, I used to watch them with the Checkers. They were great."
Yeah.
And
I got that's kind of fun right here.
Yeah.
Got a Michael Branson Nygaard jersey.
There you go. There you go.
I got a
signed
Coast jersey.
I got one other question. You've talked to a lot of the folks about the other teams, which is great. Has there been anybody that said, "Hey, we think our team is going to knock off the Griffins"?
No.
Not necessarily. We haven't got that. Most of the time it's been, man, we kind of want to stay out of the Griffins' way, which I understand. That's kind of another point of us talking around. There's so much going on here in Grand Rapids. It's easy to miss what actually is going out there around the league because there's just so much news and so much high top priority things going on. But really, the other teams in this league need recognition, and they're going to come from behind, and someone, hopefully not this year, is going to knock the Griffins off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season, as you know. I mean, a lot of things can happen. I mean, I was looking at the top scorers in the AHL, and I saw, obviously you've got, the usual suspects like John Leonard from your team is there. But I was really excited to see that Nadeau and Robidoux now are in the top 10. Okay, so, now you're starting to see, you look at the Wolves and you say, boy, they're starting to, they're delivering some big numbers with some of these guys. So you got to watch it.
Yeah.
And, that, again, as the second half goes on, I mean, their momentum right now is incredible. They're just firing on all cylinders. So, and there's other teams like that in the league. So, you kind of know that it's going to get interesting. There's a big gap, of course, in the standings with the Griffins and the other teams. But I think, again, momentum's a crazy thing. You start to see these teams winning, and all of a sudden, like they just believe in themselves. And, quite often they're younger players too. And you know how that goes. If they're on fire and they're playing well, it just seems to get better. If things are not going so well, it just seems to get a little tougher. So I think it's going to be an interesting second half here. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, the Griffins are the class. So that'll be
the other thing. We talked to Mario Terabasi.
Yeah.
We talked to Mario Terabasi on the CHGO podcast for Chicago Blackhawks and Rockford Ice Hogs, and their team's looking like excuse me. Their team is looking like someone that could recover from some injuries. Some of their players have been cooking in the NHL. They come down here and they could be a real problem for the rest of this division. So
they're another team. The Wolves have had their hands full with Rockford, and I think they're playing Rockford tonight. They've had their hands full with Rockford for sure. And they got Sam Renzel, and they got a bunch of guys that are pretty darn good. And for sure, they're going to get some more players from the Blackhawks. They have guys going back and forth. So they did lose Oliver Moore, and it looks like Lardis is going to be gone as well. So they're in a situation where they're like everybody else, is that players up and down and all kind of challenges. But Rockford's a great team. And one other thing I was going to mention, I don't think I mentioned this, but there's still 6 games between the Wolves and the Griffins. So we're gonna see each other 6 more
10 times.
I know.
Yeah. So
and it's been even so far. It's been good matchups.
Yeah, they will be. And so those would be the ones we'll be watching closely to see if they're a barometer for how this is all going to play out. But I just thought I'd mention that there's still lots of time for the two teams to get together and shake things up a little bit. But yeah, it's a great season. You got the All-Star game coming up, which is going to be fun. It's always good fun with talking about the AHL for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on, Tom. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know we could talk AHL for hours. It really could just keep going here, but I think we'll draw to close at this. Is there, you want to shout out your podcast once more and any other socials you would like? Sure.
So we're on YouTube. You can get us at youtube.com/@StormTRacker23. And of course, that's a lot of fun. That's our video version. And we do have an audio version that we also roll out on virtually every audio platform. So whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, I don't care, whoever you've got, we're there. And also I'm on X quite a bit as well. And again, StormTRacker24, you'll see me on X. Please reach out to me. I'm always happy to talk hockey and whether it's AHL or NHL, I don't really care. I'm all over it. And Facebook as well is another one that I spend a lot of time on. StormTRacker23 at Facebook. So I'm on the usual suspects. You can reach me anytime. Love to talk hockey.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tom. We really appreciate your time.
Hey
Yeah,
guys,
and
it's been my
if we do end up meeting in the playoffs, we might just be contacting you back. So be ready.
I'm sure that I'll have lots to say. No, guys, this has been a great pleasure, and I appreciate greatly that you would invite me. And anytime you want to talk about the Wolves or hockey in general, I'm here for you for sure. Thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a good rest of your day.
You too.
So that was a very fun talk with Tom Ray. It was really cool to see how the Hurricanes and the Chicago Wolves affiliation, all the drama between that. I've always been wondering, and it was cool to see some answers on that, and cool to see that the number 1 and number 2 teams are the rivalries reignited. So thank you, Tom Ray, for coming on.
Yeah, and overall a great guy to talk to. So make sure everyone go and check out his show, StormTRacker. Just a great guy to talk to. Would love to talk again soon.
Yep. So that should pretty much wrap us up for this episode. Like we said earlier, the Grand Rapids Griffins will be taking on the Chicago Wolves in Grand Rapids for Friday night, $2 beer, $2 dogs. And then Saturday night, they will be taking on the Chicago Wolves in Chicago. So make it down to the Van Andel Friday night and root on those Griffins. Go Griffins.
Go Griffins.
Thank you for listening to the Griffins Pipeline Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star review. We are part of the Hockey Podcast Network. We are not partnered with the Grand Rapids Griffins, Detroit Red Wings, or Toledo Walleye. We are not experts. We are just die-hard fans looking to make a community with others alike. Let's go Griffins Nation. Join the fun, like and follow us on Facebook and X, or call into the show and have your opinion heard 1-616-319-1175. Thank you. Grand Rapids Griffins, Toledo Walleye, and Detroit Red Wings. Players, coaches, websites, and social media. Thank you AHL.com, NHL.com, ETL.com, EliteProspects.com, and anyone else putting out information on the teams. Until next time, go Griffins. Go Red Wings, go Walleye.